At 18th and Vine here in Kansas City, they have the American Jazz Museum and the Negro League Baseball Museum. Both are awesome. Today, Virgin and I are going to spotlight the Negro League Baseball Museum. Come on in, let's take a look. All right, we are here at 18th and Vine in Kansas City at the Negro League Baseball Museum. There's also a jazz museum here and an interesting gift shop. We'll do a quick pan around here after the intro. I have been wanting to come here for years and years and years, and it's to my shame, it's probably the only museum in Kansas City that I really haven't been to. So I'm excited that Birch and I had the day off, and we were able to come check it out and to take you on this journey with us. I hope you enjoy, and if you're in Kansas City ever, I hope you give it a chance, because it's an interesting part of American and baseball history. Thanks, guys. Great question. What are the Negro Leagues? Well, this does a great job of breaking them all down, as illustrated by our lovely assistant, Bridget. So it looks like going as far back as 1920 and as recent as 1955, these are all of the places that had Negro League teams. Some of them pretty briefly, like where was that, Kate Stars, just 1 year. But yeah, Kansas City, Missouri,
which has
Monarchs,
which has none.
Quite a bit. Yeah, and that star there, I believe, means that they won the Negro League World Series in 1942. Wow, during World War II, no less. Quite a few different teams. And here we have a map, or at least of the eastern part of the U.S. It's interesting, were they all on the east side?
Our mini bats, Dad.
Our mini bats, yeah. Boom. Richard found this awesome little bench with bases for cushions. Buck ONeil, who I am wearing the t-shirt of currently.
Wait, listen.
Cool Papa Bell. Satchel Page.
You can hear the air.
Yeah, hear the air coming out of them? These are the people that made it possible.
All for us. It's all ours.
Near the start of the museum, they have this really nifty theater, so to speak, James Earl Jones, that displays about a half-hour long video about the early years of the Negro League Baseball Museum. As you can see, it's sort of set up like the stands at an old baseball field. And, you know, they got some really cool pictures and you know, some old footage from, you know, black and white back in the day, and you know, it's amazing some of the things those guys had to endure. Just outside of that is when the real historical artifacts start to appear, and this is like the super early days, the pioneers, when baseball was still relatively new. You see it says 1887 there, and a lot of challenges for, you know, people of color trying to get into the sport. I remember one of the articles talked about how there was a team of African descendants that spoke gibberish because they wanted people to believe that they were from Quebec, or not from Quebec, from Cuba, well, foreigners anyway. So because foreigners were treated better than native-born to America, but African descendant baseball players. So here we are into the World War I, World War II. I would say, you know, probably post-World War II is where a lot of the, what we think about really occurred, is, you know, sort of, you know, the Jackie Robinson days, and, you know, obviously Buck ONeil and Satchel Page and whatnot. So there's talking about the Kansas City Monarchs, which, you know, some hometown pride. That's an old scorebook there. Only baseball is on tap at Island Park. Clan and colored team to mix. Yeah, I thought that was a pretty wild article. It was a team of Ku Klux Klan played against the Negro League team. The Negro League team won, you'll be happy to know.
They were talking about some segregation. So, it's amazing how entwined this story is with the civil rights movement, and pretty sad to think about all the challenges that they had to face, and to some extent still face. So, Bridget's there hiding behind the chair. She liked that little area. I tried to explain to her that the radio is more like like our TV is today. It's sort of the centerpiece of the living room. Lots of really cool article. 1927 tour of Japan. Can you imagine getting to travel to Japan to play baseball? Look at the size difference there in those players. It's interesting to me that Japan has always been fascinated with our national sport. We have some great Japanese players playing in the Major League today. So, it's a relatively sort of like layout, not a huge museum, but they really have a lot packed in here. Lots of relics and pictures, and the staff members I all interacted with really knew a lot, and they were excited to talk about it. Oh, there we go, we're talking about tennis and whatnot. Detroit Stars. Later on, you'll see some really cool relics of like baseballs and jerseys and whatnot, and the golden years. East West All-Star Classic. Yeah, so that's sort of like the championship of their day. This room was really cool because it's wall-to-wall newspaper articles, and they had this sort of like interesting video about the newspaper journalist that sort of gave the idea of getting Jackie Robinson to play in the major leagues, and how that sort of came to pass. And a lot of the major milestones here are covered in newspapers. There's some things like New York Times and whatnot, but there's some smaller newspapers, even some local ones like the Kansas City Star. A neat little room. And Satchel Paige, one of the big names from there. He was actually considered to be the first one to break the color barrier, but because he was so old, that's why they ended up giving it to Jackie Robinson. So he was a year later. I think he was third or fourth. That's his gun up there. Pretty interesting relic to have in here. And an interesting character. Later on in the video, we'll take you to Satchel Paige's house and where he's laid to rest. This is an example of one of the nicer room accommodations. Generally, they did not have it quite as nice as this. You see the Monarchs uniform there. They were always dressed to the nines. They were always dressed really nice. And I always thought it was sort of cliche, but apparently African American culture is heavily shaped around barbershop, and that they illustrate that there. It's the ambition of every black boy to be a Monarch. Every white boy to be a Yankee. So there's still a lot of pride around the Monarchs and the team name, and Kansas City's history in baseball and changing times. There you go. So this is really interesting. It talks about a lot of African American players that played baseball, but also were in the armed services. Then it's also talking about different people that were the first to break the color barrier for football, tennis, hockey. A lot of different sports. They cover it all. So in addition to being a baseball museum, it's sort of, well, like I said, it's about the civil rights movement. Okay, so this is really cool. This is some throwback cards. I would give a lot of money for some of these things. There's some really, really cool old relics in here, and I probably want to get them slabbed. But you got a baseball there. There's some autographs. Some of these folks, have passed on a long time ago, so really hard to come by. And you'll see here in a little bit, they have a whole section of autographed baseballs, many of which were there at the unveiling of the museum. Sort of a dream for us sports collectors there, so some really cool vintage on display. But this time, Bridget spotted a baseball diamond at the end, and she's sort of trying to hurry me along to get to this, but I'm the kind of person that wants to read everything, and there was a lot to read here. Okay, so here, Integration Pioneers talks about first American player on each baseball team, and so 1959, some of them, it took a while. It took dang near 12 years. I think these are more or less in order. Again, there is one for each team. The very last one we'll show you is Jackie Robinson. Of course, he was the first one to break
All
it.
the jerseys, huh?
The Cardinals there.
We got the big people that play baseball.
Yeah, there we go. Really interesting articles. A lot of these gentlemen had to really prove themselves to get a 2-time barrier breaker. Yes, that was two for the same team there. There we go. Dodgers, Jackie Robinson. One of the great names, and that is a Jackie Robinson game-used baseball bat. So pretty crazy. This is really neat. It's got a plaque from all of everybody who is entered into the Negro League Baseball Museum Hall of Fame, and a representation of their jersey. I don't know if those are. I think a lot of those have to be remade jerseys. I suppose some of them might be original, but I did not ask about that. Unfortunately, to show it all, I kind of had to give you a wide frame, so it's probably kind of hard to read some of those names. But Buck Leonard, Buck ONeil, Satchel Page, and the names you're used to seeing, Papa Bell, gentlemen like that.
That one I can't read. And it's more golden
Yeah, it is.
than the other ones.
There we go. There's a wall of baseballs. I think those are people that have donated to the museum.
Biz.
And here's some more of the
Excuse me.
the jerseys. It's sizable. It's not quite as big as Cooperstown, but still quite neat. We're hoping to visit Cooperstown actually next month, so maybe be able to compare the
A
two.
lot of golden gloves.
Yeah. Let's hit a home run.
Not just yet. Oh, you see, this whole thing here is about Buck ONeil.
Yeah. Bridge found Buck ONeil. And here we are, the golden gloves. Super neat.
All right. Throw it, Bridget.
Kind of see in the reflection there, the baseball collection. That is a sizable amount of baseballs there to the left. And this is the one about Buck ONeil. I mentioned him a lot. An amazing man. Very proud that he was a Kansas City, and he was very proud of Kansas City. One of my favorite collections in my personal collection. He's an autographed baseball I received directly from him. And here we go. This is definitely Bridget's favorite, and it's pretty cool. Usually when I see people have gone to the Negro League Museum, this is what they share is it's a baseball diamond, and they've got major players in each of their positions out here. At the very beginning of the video, you may have noticed we saw a Buck ONeil. She is running around. Buck ONeil statue. He was just outside of it, so because in that he was depicted as a coach. There you go, autograph Satchel Page baseball. Kind of faded there, but that's got to be worth several $1,000s. And this giant baseball bat has quite a few autographs itself. Lots of history, amazing place. Really love going here. This is a area that they use for rotating exhibitions. They had some really interesting baseball art depicting, some of the greats throughout the years. All of which have been autographed by a local, or I guess painted by a local artist. Obviously, Jackie Robinson, major player in this, so he's depicted several times. What I found interesting is there to the right, that is the plaque that was originally placed at the birthplace of Jackie Robinson. Unfortunately, it was shot at because he is from a part of the South that I guess does not embrace that part of their heritage. So there's a lot of I don't know if you noticed, bullet hole dings in there from some buckshot that was shot at. So they replaced it, and they brought the old one here to
situated close to downtown Kansas City.
Appreciated by those of us that do care about these types of things.
KC
Obviously, he was not born in
Youth
Kansas
Academy
City,
baseball
but,
field.
so pretty cool.
And
that girl really got some hit there. So there's my girl. She's shushing me
that
because apparently
are
a
in
video is
a
going on.
really cool old building.
Art ball.
that
Yeah,
used
that's
to
what they call
serve
this art
as,
ball. You know, really impressive. Oh,
I think
these
it was
are
a
this is a
utility
limited
building
edition
for
bobblehead
the
set
city of
that they
Kansas
have.
City.
They only made 100 of
Gosh,
them, but
like 100 plus
yeah,
years
it's all
ago.
the same people that we showed
Lot of
earlier
history in this part of town.
the baseball thing.
Really cool.
So that would be really cool, but
A short 5-minute
he
drive.
didn't
from
even
the
say how much it
Baseball
costs.
Museum
You know,
will
it's
take you
pricey.
to Satchel Page's house. Although he died in 1882, there's been several efforts to turn this house at 2626 East 28th Street into some type of commemorative, memorable place, added into the National Register of Historical Places, but all of that has failed. In fact, a few years back, it caught on fire, and there was really concern that it was going to get torn down. It has since been fenced off. They haven't done a lot of restoration work, but they seem to have done enough to mitigate the damage from the fire. I'm hoping that they end up deciding to do something cool with it, because it's, you know, the home of a very important, significant person in baseball and Kansas City history. Here we are at East 51st Street and Swope Parkway at the Satchel Paige Memorial Stadium. I'm very happy to see that the city of Kansas City is taking to fix it up. Last time I was here, it was in disrepair, and there was vandalism, graffiti, and just kind of falling apart. The Kansas City Parks News says that there is a year-long renovation effort underway to bring this back to a good working condition. A lot of small not minor league, but like, you know, local Pee Wee League games play here, and they have an annual Satchel Paige tournament in his honor. So it's a great place to visit. I hope to come enjoy a game here, and if I do, I will share it with you guys. We're here at Forest Hill Cemetery near Troost and Gregory, central part of the city. And there's two very important people from the Negro League baseball history here. The first that we're going to visit today is Satchel Paige's memorial. Satchel, or Leroy Robert Paige, and his wife Lahoma Jean are interred here. And it's a beautiful cemetery, very large. Lots of famous people from Kansas City's history are also buried here. And not so famous, but my grandfather is also buried here. We visit him every Memorial Day. Lots of natural beauty. It's fairly well kept, and they have a couple of really interesting monuments to some of the greats.
This talks about where he got his nickname of Satchel, walking satchel tree, and how to stay young. I always get a kick out of these things. Can't say I follow all of them, but that might be why I look old. Every time I come here, I find baseballs have been left by people. I think that's really cool that after all this time, people still recognize his significance.
All right, so continuing our tour of the cemetery, Bridget and I are at the Buck ONeil monument. There is a lot of history around here, and John Buck ONeil is a very important part of it. Great advocate for Kansas City, for the Negro Leagues, and an all-around awesome human being. I mentioned a couple of times on our channel that I had the good fortune of meeting him before he passed on, and I have an autographed baseball from him, a cherished prize of mine. Buck ONeil lived a long, fruitful life, and we're happy to see that Kansas City still remembers him. I got my shirt on. I picked up a Satchel Paige t-shirt when I was at the museum, so I could rock that one too. And you notice that good old Buck ONeil also has some baseballs left here at his memorial. In the past, I have left some as well myself. And another interesting piece of the Negro League baseball history in Kansas City. What do you think, Bridget? She says pretty cool, although it's ridiculously hot. It's 95 degrees today. And there you go. He was a significant part of bringing the Negro League Baseball Museum to life. Got some of his stats there, and some significant things in his life. Served in the Navy. There we go. Good old Buck. Brooklyn and 22nd Street is the corner where the Kansas City Municipal Stadium used to be. The last stop on our tour today.
Now it's housing. Monarch Manor is what its for sale sign says over there, but
What if we lived here, Dad?
a lot of baseball history occurred here. Municipal Stadium, 1923 through 1976. Had a couple different names and iterations. And they've honored a few of the famous greats from throughout that time. Amos Otis, John Mayberry. We recently picked up one of his cards. Bobby Bell, I got a couple of autographs of Bobby Bell. Willie Lanier, got a couple autos of his too. Amazing Chiefs player. Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. He was a Kansas City Monarch before he played for the Dodgers. Otis Taylor, John Thomas Wyatt, played for the Athletics there. John Jordan Buck ONeil, one of the greats. And of course, Satchel Paige. You are here. You can see that spot right there. I believe it's the ticketing booth. Right there. Here's the timeline. Mulebach Field. There's a Mulebach Hotel still downtown Kansas City. But the landscape is very different today. We're losing some of our history, so it's more and more important that we take the time to remember what we have, to document it, and embrace it. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video.